What Imam al-Ghazali was talking about, he is talking about two fundamental desires within the human being. One of them is the stomach and the other is the genitals. And he's saying that if we can master these, then we become masters of ourselves. If we can't master these, then we're slaves to ourselves. Now for a man, those relate to, one of them relates to their desire for women. زُيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ حُبُّ الشَّهَوَاتِ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ, and that's one of the things. Now that ayah is equally as applicable to women as well in relation to men, right? I mean, I think that what is being said there can be equally applied for women in terms of men in relation to men, although men definitely have a more difficult time, right, in these matters than women. And this is changing in the modern times, particularly in this country. But that is not something that has traditionally been the situation. Men are weaker in these matters. In fact, it very clearly says in the Quran, خُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا, that man was created weak in relation to women. That the women have a strength that men don't have. And the Prophet ﷺ said, for instance, that a woman's capacity for sexual enjoyment is actually greater than a male's, and in one by 99 parts. And he said, except Allah has made modesty so overbearing in a woman. There's a modesty that Allah has placed in women that He didn't place in men, right? And this is why it's quite rare in cultures all over the world. You don't find women traditionally doing a lot of the crude things that men will do, in relation to these things. So it's certainly not talking about, it is talking about the idea that a man must learn to control that. And if he doesn't, then he is susceptible to losing himself. It means that, for men, it has been made beautiful to a man, the lusty desire for women. That's something man is attracted to. But Allah is saying that that's something he needs to overcome, But there's definitely, that is a very strong attraction within the male species, right? And this is part of the reason is that the hijab is, in a sense, really, the onus has been put on the woman out of the weakness of the man. For instance, a man, now look at this, a man can walk in the street with his shirt off. Now, it is not permissible for a woman to look at the man's chest if it's an ajnabi man. But the onus wasn't put on men because women are not seen. Allah is saying that they're not as weak as men are in that area, that type of attraction. I mean, women, really, most women, certainly traditionally, and I think still to this day, they're not just, they're men that'll just go off. If they see a woman, they get seduced. There's a tradition about Dawood alayhi salam saw all of these worshippers and he was admiring them. And Allah said, if I sent one woman to these men, they would just go off with her. In other words, you think they're great or bad, but the reality of it is they don't have an inner strength, right? So that is the type of weakness that the male has been given. I think males are more aware of it because, this is our experience, right? And it isn't the female experience. It's the male experience. Now, there are female experiences that we're not aware of, right? I mean, this is the human condition. Now, I had a teacher who was a male feminist, teacher that taught me epistemology, and one of the books we had to read was Towards a Feminist Epistemology. And one of the things, his argument was that it's impossible for a man to understand the feminine condition. I mean, he just felt it's impossible. We can't do it. We're incapable of understanding it. And I disagreed with him in that I said that I think that the essential experiences about, for instance, there are many women that have experienced oppression, right? Now, although I cannot experience the female experience of oppression, I know what oppression is and I know my reaction to it because I have been oppressed, and I think everybody in this room at some time in their life has felt oppression and they've felt the experiences that go with it, right? So we do have bonds and connections. We've felt pain, we've felt anguish, we felt love, we felt hate, we felt jealousy. These are shared human experiences, and these are things that can bind us. and keep us together. It's a fundamental weakness in the male, right? It really is. It's not about the woman. It's in fact something about the male. Prophet ﷺ never says that women are evil. There's no... And also another thing, these are bad translations, because a lot of times they talk about shar, and I mentioned that shar in Arabic is not a moral. It has to do with more with a want than it has to do with the idea of evil. Right? I mean, there's some, I've seen this in the Muslim books, and personally, it bothers me, you know. Definitely, they should at least be on the path of attempting to purify their hearts. You know, I don't think that you should delay marriage until you have, you know, feel like you're in a state of purity, or ikhlas, or something like that. You know, you might end up getting married at about 60 or 70, right? And Allah's also made, you know, there's natural attractions. Lust is part of the human condition. That is a natural attraction between a male and a female. That's not something abnormal, and it's not something bad. What the Sharia is saying is, if you can't control that, you're in trouble. You have to be able to control it. Then the idea is that you will not be susceptible to falling into something that is a major wrong action, because your taqwa, the mechanism within your soul, will prevent you from doing that.